My name is Sammy Jo Hosler, and I'm a graduate student at Northeastern Illinois University in Chicago, Illinois. I'm also a graduate assistant with Campus Recreation, and I run our outdoor adventure program. Part of my responsibilities in the outdoor adventure program is running team building activities. I run my team building activities from groups as small as first and second grade all the way up through college stage groups and more. One thing to know is that there are many different ways to brief your groups for an activity. This is just my personal way of doing it. But you can always take my way and modify it. One thing to remember when you're briefing your groups is to remember to use inclusive language, and this is something that is really good to do just in adventure recreation in general. That means using non-gendered language. So instead of being like, hey guys, you want to greet your groups with something like, hey y'all, hey everybody, hey friends. Anything that is gender non-specific, something that makes sure that everybody feels included. Another thing to remember with inclusive language is we want to make sure that we're saying we, us, our, including ourselves in our group, because we want to make sure that they feel like they can trust us and that we are doing this activity with them. First thing that we need to do whenever we have a group is we want to make sure that we introduce ourselves. Introducing ourselves just makes sure that we set a precedent of saying our name and who we are, and just establishes a little bit of trust between us and our group. Once we introduce ourselves, we need to go over the 5-finger contract. The 5-finger contract is something that's extremely important in adventure recreation and adventure education. The very first thing in the 5-finger contract that you want to do is you want to give a thumbs up. Ask everybody what this means. They're going to say it means good job, it means fun, it means okay. And that's essentially setting the tone for what we want to do. We want them to understand that it's fun and we're going to have a good job and it's going to be great. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to put up our pointer finger. Our pointer finger just says, listen. You know, when someone's giving directions, they sometimes wag a finger. And that's the important thing to remember, is that this finger is listen. Listening to us, listening to their group participants, listening to whoever is speaking. Communication is really important. One thing that is sometimes if your group has trouble listening to someone speaking is it's good to have a speaking object. You can do something fun, like this gourd. This is a gourd that I have and sometimes comes, but once they start to get a little mushy, they're not as fun. Next thing is the middle finger. We're not going to show it, but don't be that guy. We're not going to be negative. We're not going to say bad words. We're not going to be hateful. Middle finger represents hate, and that's not what we're about. The next one is your ring finger. When people think of the ring finger, they think of weddings, they think of marriages, they think of commitment. We need to be committed to the activity to make sure that we're going to have fun and it's going to be safe. And speaking of safety, our pinky finger, our littlest, most babyest finger. Our pinky finger represents safety. We have to be careful. We have to protect that pinky finger because we're not able to have fun, have a good job if we hurt our pinky finger, you know? And that comes with being committed, not being negative, listening to directions, having fun. After we discuss the 5-finger contract, I like to talk about the stretch zone. In adventure recreation, we have 3 zones. We have right here, which is your comfort zone. That's where you live your everyday life, that's existing, that's going grocery shopping maybe, whatever keeps you comfortable. The outside zone is the panic zone, and the panic zone is big and endless, and that's where you start to panic. In between your comfort zone and your panic zone is what we call the stretch zone or your learning zone. That's where all learning comes in adventure education. It's getting outside of your comfort zone, kind of pushing on those boundaries, and maybe eventually making your comfort zone bigger. The thing that we want to remember though is that we never want to get into our panic zone when we're doing adventure recreation. And I explain that by saying challenge by choice. When we talk about challenge by choice, it means that we want our participants to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but we don't want them to get so uncomfortable that they're in that panic zone. Once we finish off talking about our 5-finger contract, our stretch zone, comfort zone, panic zone, and challenge by choice, I just make sure that if anybody has any questions, I clear them up, and then we go into our introduction. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.